Okay, does anyone have a question they would like to start with?
This revolves a lot around the podcast that we listened to. It said, how do you think the lack of teen culture in the 50s affected Holden's breakdown and struggle with leaving adolescence?
Anybody?
I do think that the lack of teenage struggle the lack of teenage relatability in the 50s, because there was not a specific teenage culture. I do think that it was hard for him to find relatability, and I think we do live in the age of relatability where it's funny to talk about your struggles, and it's relatable in the sense that it's cathartic and you get to talk amongst others, whereas he didn't really have this sort of culture. Everyone was just a random age stuck between childhood and adulthood.
Whereas today, so Holden talks a lot about how he really hates the movies. And what's interesting about that is today there's a whole market for teen-specific movies. And so I would wonder, does that make it easier to be a teen, or does it make it harder? Because now we have images of what teenagedom is supposed to be and what you're supposed to experience in high school.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Lauren that now in today's society, teenagers they think they have to be a certain way. Girls, they have to attain this certain body, or guys have to be muscular or have this certain teenage life, but not everyone gets that experience, so it adds more pressure.
Talking about teenage experience, do you think that with his nervous breakdown and basically what the whole story was about, is Holden really a normal, relatable teenager, or is he not neurotypical in everyone else's eyes?
I think he's sort of exaggerated. He's so indecisive. I don't think we'll ever meet someone as indecisive as Holden is, or with as much teen angst that Holden has. I think it's a good model, but it's just over exaggerated, and that's sort of the point of his character.
Yeah, I would agree that it's exaggeration to make a point, because if you were to just write Holden as a neurotypical teenager, you wouldn't really get to explore the worst parts of being a teenager the way the book is supposed to. And so by exaggerating all these negative traits and exaggerating his anxiety, you really get to have a closer look at it.
So I have a question. Why does Holden have a hard time connecting with his family, and do you think that people now have the same difficulties?
Yeah, I feel like it was probably pretty relatable that he had a hard time connecting with his family. That's just from personal experience though, but I do think that it wasn't too far-fetched. He didn't talk about, necessarily hating his family. He just didn't really connect with them.
I think he connected with Phoebe and the younger brother, Allie, not so much the older brother or the parents. I think that's just because they had expectations for Holden. And I don't think Holden can really